Well, it's been exciting for us here at the Software Defined Talk podcast. We don't normally get a ton of Blue Sky feedback, but we did on this very last episode. And Matt, this comes from Martin on Blue Sky. I don't know if you post on Blue Sky. What is it? A skeet? A post?
Skeet.
A skeet? Okay, so
That's what they're officially called.
He says the following. He says, "Will Matt try marmalade with his Vegemite for the full PBJ analog?" So to quickly remind everyone, we were searching last week for peanut butter jelly as an American staple. Don't think it's made its way around the world yet, and it sounds like we talked a little bit about Vegemite. That I reiterated my hatred for it. I guess there's Marmite, but now we have marmalade has entered the chat. So my question to you as our not native Australian person, and also I've been told because you're not a native Australian, you cannot complain about Vegemite. That's been taken.
I thought that meant
no. Michael Neal said that it says like only Australians can complain about Vegemite. I guess us Americans are not allowed, but I don't care. I'm already on the record. I don't like it. But my question to you is marmalade and Vegemite. Have you had it, and is it the PBJ of Australia?
No, I haven't had it. I mean, marmalade is. I never understand the spectrum of jellies to jams to marmalades to chutneys, but I generally, when you're at the airport lounge and they have those little single servings of jams and stuff, I always grab the orange marmalade, and I'm always like, "Whoa, this is not what I was expecting, but it's good." I don't know. Is that rind in there? It's weird, but no, I haven't gone for the Vegemite marmalade combo or the Marmite marmalade. You get your double M's, an M&M. No, I guess not. I haven't gone for that yet.
You haven't tried it.
I don't know if I will.
Well, maybe the better question is like of your native Australian friends that you've maybe you socialize with, or maybe they're children. I don't know if it's the same. Like, have you ever seen somebody break out?
My children or just other people's children?
Well, I'm just saying, like, like if you're in America, it's very likely if you're on the playground or a kid goes to school, you'll see a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's not like, it's not, again, you'll find them quickly. So I just wondered, is the analog true? It's like, do you see like kids in schools or just eating snacks? Is marmalade Vegemite a snack that you've actually run across for kids?
Probably. I like, not personally. My kids are packing, PB&Js, but I know that Vegemite has made an appearance. I think it's usually like Vegemite and butter.
Oh, butter. Well, butter is like the universal thing. I mean, that.
Yeah, that's how you cut it. But
I was gonna say, is anybody against butter? I feel like that's a universal one. The whole world's united in favor of butter.
I don't know, vegans.
I guess that's true. Well, that's a good point. That's as always.
As always,
I'm ignoring. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's true. I just never think about that.
Vegans are against everything.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like, I mean, hey, power to the vegans. I don't know how you do it. All the vegans out there, like, good for you. I just can't do it. So, well, I encourage you, Matt. I'm not going to try any of this, but I want you or someone in your family to try the marmalade Vegemite sandwich. And of course, if this is not the right PBJ analog, I invite people to find us on Blue Sky, find us on the socials, find us in the Slack. Tell us what the appropriate peanut butter and jelly analog is for Australia, or really for any country. It'd be interesting to know, like, what other people would do it. I mean, I guess except the French. The French probably would be like even asking this question would probably get us kicked out of France. So like, don't mess up the bread, people. We have bread. Don't mess it up. So, all right. Well, listen, I have another question for you. I have watched 570 hours of keynotes this week because there's a lot. Okay. And I have a question about keynote etiquette, maybe vocabulary, right? I want to see if you're with me on this. It's like, I want to ban the word. Now, it's not AI. It's not next generation. The word I want to ban from all future keynotes is excited. Everyone that comes out is like, they're excited. They're telling me they're excited. The thing that they're introducing is exciting. They want us to know that they are excited. And my question is like, can we just get rid of that sort of standard line? Hi, I'm Brand. Like today, like if I started the podcast, like, hey everyone, I'm excited to be on the podcast today to talk about marmalade. Like everyone should just feel my excitement. I don't need to tell you I'm excited. You know, I want to talk about marmalade, right? And that's what I want to tell. That's my point that I want to give all the presenters. Like, I know you're excited because you're on stage in front of hundreds, thousands, potentially millions of people on stream. You've been working on something and you're being paid to be there. So all of these things lead me to believe that you are excited and at least happy to be there. And I don't believe you need to tell me that when you're introducing yourself or your product. So am I being a little too harsh on this? Should I just allow everyone to have their excitement? Or can we move on, if you will? Can we move past that? Can I just make the assumption? Thoughts on that, on the word excited?
Well, as someone who has definitely opened my notes, my script for a talk or presentation with the thesaurus and looked to replace the word exciting, I feel like this is. I mean, we're all going through the whole like kabuki of business discussions where you need to show enthusiasm for your paycheck, right? You need to be on stage and talk about, you're there to talk about something. Hopefully, hopefully you actually have some excitement. You know, the product is compelling. You think it's going to help customers, but I don't know. Maybe you're right. It is just assumed, but like a lot of business communications, you got to put in the motions. You got to do what you got to do. You got to
I
be
guess
excited. You're
I
excited, Brandon. You can't
I
wait to be
want
here.
more.
You've been
I
looking
think,
forward to telling everyone about marmalade.
well, the one thing I was thinking about is like you don't normally see like professional, like let's say like the best thing I can think of is somebody that was like hosting a big award show. Like, I don't know, Jimmy Kimmel comes to mind. It's just somebody done, is like I don't know. I mean, I have to actually go back and look. Maybe they do say they're excited, but I think there's something about their polish about like getting into it quickly, right? They're just kind of like immediately into like whatever they're doing. And I think that's a point I think everyone can take from these things. And maybe it is, maybe I've probably said it myself, like when giving, I'm not giving these giant keynotes, but I probably said it in a presentation. But I think there's something about almost like in your mind, like you almost need to say it as you're walking out, like I'm excited to be here in your mind alone. And then you just start in with the next sentence, like whatever the thing that you're going to say. And I think it normally should, I think the thing I was thinking about is like, come back just to the benefit statement. It's just sort of walk out. I'm here. I'm going to show you today about how you can make, apps X times better or 40 times more secure or whatever, right? Just launch right into that because that sort of hooks me in, at least tells me, like sets me up for like the thing I should be saying. And don't distract me with like the excitement thing or it's not even a distraction. It's just sort of like, I'm just waiting. Like, it's almost like if you were a podcast, I would just be fast forwarding it. It's like, okay, let's get through the introductions. Let's get through this.
You know,
Let's get through the marmalade section so I can see what happened at Microsoft Build. It's like, that's what I want to do. I don't want that. So, and I think all levels do it. I think both the CEOs I watched, they said excited. In fact, in the Google I/O, because they are, if you will, self-referential, right? Because they count. They actually have a live counter, and they show it at the end. And they said, how many times did we mention AI? And AI was second this year only to Gemini. But what was third was excited. And that's what made me think about exactly every one of the presenters that came up not only said they were excited initially, and then maybe mentioned excited 2 or 3 times through their presentation. So to me, if you will, excited is probably used, if you will, it's ascended to like some level of Hall of Fame jargon, right? It's actually even above next generation AI, easy to use. It's like everyone is saying those, but somehow they're saying excited even more than that. So that's why I'm pressing the world to get rid of that word. Thoughts?
man, yeah. Why is your goal to like suck the enjoyment out of people's lives? I mean, each. I mean, the point about Jimmy Kimmel is, and the host is, yes, they're up there the whole time, so they can get the excitement out of the way. They've got a job to do. They're working it, but as each presenter comes up, it's new to them. they haven't been on stage for an hour and a half. They haven't been talking for nonstop, and so each one of them is bringing their fresh excitement, and
Mm-hmm.
you got to let them have their moment, Brandon. You can't, you know, maybe what you didn't want. Maybe you didn't really want to watch the keynote. Maybe what you wanted was the article summarizing it that had the word excitement in it once.
That
You
may
know,
be true. Maybe in the end, when you watch too many of these keynotes,
maybe the
you
problem,
see it.
Brandon,
Maybe the
is
problem
you
is
shouldn't
me.
be watching. The
Maybe
problem
the
is you
problem is
shouldn't be
me.
watching keynotes.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I guess I'll leave it there. It's sort of like, I guess where I'm going with this is more around like I want them to be better, right? And I think where I can come from, and I guess this is where I'm coming from. It's like it's not that like I don't want to take anyone's joy and things away from that. It's sort of like if we were in a what is the kind of the cliche? You're in a meeting, right, about building something, and someone's like, we should think about what the customers want, right? It's always like the customer perspective. Like, I don't know how many meetings been in there, but we can kind of offer this up. It's like, hey, your first statement, right? This is, and this is like not me. This is like public speaking 101, right? Like it's like you basically have two times where people are really listening. It's sort of at the very beginning and at the very end, and then it's up to you to like make things happen and it's fun in the middle to keep things going around. So the first thing you say is going to have a huge impact. And I think if you've chosen to speak about yourself and how you're excited to be there, that's fine, but you've missed the opportunity to talk about something else. Like today, I'm going to talk about Gemini and how Gemini is whatever, right? As we're going to talk about in a second, like all the things there. So that's my, if you will, pitch to everyone. It's like, don't say excited, say your most important benefit statement to the world watching, and they'll probably listen it later. And then if you feel the need midway through your presentation, talking about how excited you are for the demo, that's fine. Let it come out naturally. But let me tell you, like, we're going to see Tim Cook at the Worldwide Developers Conference in a few weeks. He's going to say, he's going to be excited to be there and be like, and if all the people at a Worldwide Developers Conference is like, I don't know if Tim Cook's going to be excited to be there because the Apple developers are pissed. So maybe today he should be more like, I'm here because I have to be here, or I'm here to make amends. That would be a great way. I'm Tim Cook and I'm here to make amends with all of you.
That's not happening.
That would get some play though. That would get, like, people would be paying attention if you did that. So
yeah, no, all right, that's not happening. Never apologize. Move forward. You are a shark CEO. Yeah,
that's right. Well, having said all that, Matt, I just want to tell you, I'm excited to talk about Microsoft Build and all the fun things that I saw at the Microsoft Build keynote this week. So my big takeaway, and I guess the two things that we'll kind of tag team throughout there. So I watched the Microsoft Build keynote and I watched the Google I/O keynote, and I even tried to watch the developer keynote and Google I/O. And I will say this is sort of like my overarching thought about all of these things is like, for an industry that's trying to get rid of all developers, we are building a lot of tools for developers to use AI to build software. That is sort of like the overwhelming thing that I don't know if it's a contradiction. I don't know if it's just not these two. It's kind of everything. There is sort of like everyone has everything. It's sort of like, I'm going to give you a chatbot, I'm going to give you coding tools, and then I'm going to give you agents that do all of this forever, or all of this together rather, and you can use everything. And it kind of makes me feel like nobody really knows what they want, because if you just needed the coding agents, you wouldn't build the coding tools in AI, or vice versa. So like, let that wash over you for a moment. Do you feel the same way that I do? Is it sort of like we're kind of like confused as to like what we're even building?
Yes, absolutely. Nobody knows what people want, so they're going to give them everything. And I mean, it looks like Microsoft announces over 50 AI tools.
Yes.
At the end of the day, nobody's using 50 AI tools. What they're doing is they're throwing 50 experiments out there to see what sticks. And they're seeing which ones pick up traction and which ones are actually useful, which ones don't turn full racist or something. They're looking to see like what they can make money with on this billions of dollars that they've already invested in AI. And they obviously they found some winners and in GitHub Copilot. They they are jacking up prices on Office 365 by slapping some AI into there, and people are having different responses to that. But I mean, this
Well,
just
let's
feels
start
like
there.
a
That
fire
was what
hose.
that was the first one on the coding side. The first thing they said is they're open sourcing the GitHub Copilot into VS Code. So this is, I guess, their answer to Cursor, Windsurf, and everything else. So I mean, on the face of it, makes sense, right? Like, yeah, why not? But it also kind of makes me feel like, how did GitHub Copilot like get so far behind? Like, I don't. It feels like, I mean, I have to be fair about it. I haven't really used it a lot, but it's like I'm so sucked into my Cursor world and the tools that I like. I just like, it's almost like I don't want to stop and go learn. I don't know. I don't feel like it's
You don't
worth the
want to go
time or
back.
effort to go back
Yeah.
and be like, I'm not sure this is good. Now maybe that's unfair and I haven't done it, but like I think the market kind of shows that, like, well, people don't talk, like, people talk a lot about Cursor and Windsurf. People don't talk about GitHub Copilot other than
Well,
like it's built in. Like,
but
are you
but
using it? What are your thoughts?
I mean, but like all Microsoft products, it's ubiquitous,
Uh-huh.
and there's always going to be a switching cost. So Microsoft is just locking down the people who haven't left, and the people who, no, I'm serious. Like,
Yeah, I got it.
the
Well, you
I mean,
download VS Code, it'll
I
be
know
built
you're
in, right? Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
I know you're excited about windsurf and the likes, but I don't see it in my day to day when I talk to large enterprises. Right there,
True.
VS Code is still more than 50% of the market, and followed by um, the IntelliJ family. All
Mhm.
those ones, and then then there is some vibe coding happening, but it's on the periphery, and it hasn't broken through yet.
All right.
It hasn't broken through, which is why obviously there's a land rush happening here, gold rush, but it's gonna come, it's gonna circle back to the people who are well established will continue to hold on to things. Microsoft is, they've milked Office, they've milked Windows, they'll milk VS Code, they'll I'm not worried about them losing their lead.
Okay.
They are fast followers, and they always have been.
All right. Well, that's fair. I mean, and I guess we'll look forward to the next version of VS Code.
And the
It'll.
and the open sourcing, it's like, it doesn't really matter, because really they're just open sourcing plumbing. They're not. There's no. I don't think there's a lot of secret sauce in here, other than like, we're just we send the commands to this API, and it comes out here and we push it there. That's you know I probably Windsurf and the other stuff will take advantage of those same updates anyway. Because they're
I
working
agree.
on an open
So
source base.
the open source part was just like whatever. I don't know. I just feel like make it open source, make it not. There's so many of these agents at this point. It's like to me, it has no relevance. The fact that it's going to be into VS Code makes sense. And I guess the thing that is good is, or the place that clearly Microsoft won is, like, I don't know, VS Code is just dominant to the point that like all the
Yeah.
successful agents or coding frameworks are basically built on top of VS Code. So that I have to give them total credit for.
Exactly.
Now, the other thing that the CEO mentioned, he said that Copilot can upgrade frameworks, do app modernization, and move apps to the cloud. And it's like, this is a place like I feel like I have some more knowledge. I'm like, it's like it can help. I mean, it's sort of like it can be a tool to help you do those things, but I really wasn't buying the whole like, oh, this like Copilot can like just magically do it all. It's like
Well,
again, it's sort of like one of these things that we all have. Like when you know a lot about an area and someone says something, you're like, I don't think it really works that way. You
well,
don't just like throw it there and all the workloads magically run to Azure and they run perfectly and they're all secure and there's no problem. So it's like, that's Sadia. I just wanted to be like, that's not really winning me over here. That's not really
this
correct.
the whole fallacy of writing software is that the initial write it out, you get something in place. That's only a tiny fraction of the life cycle of software. The fixing of bugs, the changing of requirements. The AI can help you slap together an initial framework that will pass its first pass. And moving something to the cloud, sure, you could try to automate that and it might work, but there's going to be a whole lot of like, oh, we forgot about this. Oh, this is this weird case, this edge case that our business has to deal with. And oh, now this API, these permissions have changed. All these things that you hadn't considered, there's just a lot of them. And so automatic migration tools and pretty much anything automatic always has the second layer of now you have to go verify and check the results. And so,
Right.
yeah, it's great to get that stuff started. It's just like coding frameworks. They'll slap together a first pass at something, and for some applications that's okay. But if it's going to be anything that holds any weight for any amount of time, you're going to spend a lot of time in maintenance.
And so I agree. And it's one of those things like, I want to say, like, I'm not against this idea. Like, if it could work, great. I think it would be great, but it's one of these things where it's like, I haven't seen it work like this. And when I've tried to like do stuff, it's like, it's actually been a lot more, it's why it helps. It's a lot still, I think a pretty human intensive process. And so one of the things that, he mentioned next, right, was the SRE agent. So this is the idea is that it will basically find the issue that's going wrong with your deployment or your development thing, log the issue, and then ultimately you can assign the issue back to the agent so that it will resolve it, like go out and like, fix it and whatever it was. And again, it's like, I want this to be the case that it works. But as I was thinking to
I see
myself,
this
like,
every day.
who,
Yeah.
would they do it? I mean, they do. It's completely autonomous. You feel
No,
like it's,
no, that's the thing.
okay,
Like people,
go ahead.
people
Well, I guess that was the point that he
autonomy.
was trying to make. It's like, I just assign it back to the agent, and then the agent magically goes out, and I shouldn't say magically. I should say the agent goes out, uses AI, fixes the thing, closes the ticket, tests it, comes back in. So he was kind of painting this picture. But again, I was like, I would never feel comfortable,
No,
at least in the near term, of actually doing this.
that's what I mean. I see every day. So the product I work on has AI remediation recommendations. So something is misconfigured, opens a ticket in Jira, the person gets, a human gets an issue assigned to them, and there's a link back to here is the recommendation for how to remediate that. And, I have had customers like, could we automate that? And I was like, you don't want to, because when this thing goes wrong, you've given too much power to the black box, and you lose that audit trail of, oh, this happened. I mean, you can have it stage pull requests or try to do some testing and stuff, but I've seen these sorts of things go horribly wrong too many times. And I mean, I've only worked in automation for 20 years, so what do I know? But um, it's it just it rarely ends well. You'll be like, oh, it works 99% of the time, and they're like, that 1% of the time that it didn't work, it causes an outage that just killed all the productivity gains of all that other time.
Agreed.
Because
Agreed. So
somebody
again,
just hit the button.
so again, I guess they're just selling the vision. But I feel like, and it's not just Microsoft. I don't want, like, we'll talk a little bit with Google I/O. This idea that, like, I think people want this to be the case, right? It's maybe kind of like self-driving. Like, I think we want self-driving. It's just I guess Waymo is the best example. Like, in only very limited places does it actually work. And I think the same kind of thing here. It's like the vision, and the line that he used was like, from a pair programmer to a pure programmer, assign issues, features, and et cetera. And it's like, yes, like that's sort of like a science fiction statement. Like, yes, we want that to be the case. And maybe that is still the direction we're going. But to say that that's really something you can do today, like, to me, it just feels like it just doesn't work. Like, or I haven't, like, I guess that's the whole thing. It's like, we always talk about, like, on the podcast, like, it's like, use the product, follow the money. And it's like, when you use these things, you're not having that experience and you're not going out and spending your money. Like, because to me, if suddenly all these agents were, even completing things at a 99% accuracy, like, everything would move over quickly. So we know that's not happening. And we know people aren't like, suddenly doing that. So that part, I don't know. I think, to me, it's like, and I guess that's kind of throughout all these keynotes. Like, part of me just thinks to myself, like, in 3 years, will I even remember this was announced? Like, will this even be something that I actually, even actually touch? So that was all the coding stuff. We'll quickly touch on the Office 365 stuff. They called it, he had another good little line here. He called it Office 365. It's the UI for AI. Matt, do you buy that? Or are you like, that's what you wanted? You just wanted AI in your Office applications?
I mean, if we've, I guess people have already devalued office communications to the point where they're like, just let some AI do it, and I'll gloss over it. I'll read through it when it's done.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, here,
which
let me throw
is
off some things that they announced that you can use, and we'll see if you want to. One, they have like a researcher agent. Again, you probably have
yeah,
to use it to know it, but that's sort of like the deep research,
yep.
similar to OpenAI's and others. So, okay, it seems fine. I'm sure it's good. Haven't really used that, just don't have access to it, so that seems all right. They had, if you call it like an analyst agent. So again, the idea is you upload a set of spreadsheets and you get some insights. And this is the part where like I still am a little unsure and kind of confused what's going on with the office stuff, because like I don't want to leave the actual application. Like, so the Word doc's a better example. It's like every time I use it, I'm still kind of stuck in a chat bot, right? Like having it do edits and then coming back into the document and actually, having to make those edits or cut and paste. And I'm always asking, same thing with Google. I'm like, just edit the document for me. Like, great. Like to me, like turn on track changes, do all the edits, maybe insert
Suggest
comments.
changes.
Right. And I'll go through, and it's like, it just tells me it can't do that. And I'm like, I don't understand why you can't do it.
That's what I want though.
In the coding tool, like it'll show everything, right? It'll like change everything. It'll highlight the diffs. And like, to me, that's what I want. I don't want to leave the tool, but everyone, like, to me, it's like the most obvious use case is like, be in the tool with me, especially on the Word or any of the writing tools. It's like, we know there's track changes. We know there are people, like, we've been using this for millions of years. Like, that's what I want. Like, put it in there and then let me accept, reject, edit myself. Don't make me like stick me in this chat window. But I've almost just feel like this is like during the keynote, I just want to raise my hand and be like, I have just one question. Like, why can't we do this before we do the agent thing? Can we just do the thing where you're editing the document with me? Or the same thing with the spreadsheet, write the form. Like, what I do this all the time, like write a Excel formula that, searches this, does this, and it gives me a beautiful formula, and I cut and paste it back in. And it's like, just do that for me.
Do you think that they're dumbing down the interface because they expect people to they're jumping ahead because they expect people to say, like, write me a business letter with 4 paragraphs that says how excited I am to be here, and let me see that, and then it cranks it out and they're like, hit send, right? Whereas what we really want is like fine-grained messaging, and I think they're just skipping ahead because I don't know, they don't think that most people are spending quality time on documents, that they think most of this stuff is just AI slop that's going to get thrown around anyway. So why bother making people focus on what they're sending? I mean, we've had a off and on conversation in our Slack about, AI slop and media. And, you kind of see it where people like, I need an article about this. And, it slaps together like, some research stuff. And if you glance through it, you're like, oh, this is fine. It's good. But if you were doing like a line by line edit, suggest changes, you'd be like, no, don't put that in. That's wrong. Or, where did that come from?
Or you maybe like that book that was recommended doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, it's the classic thing of doing a code review. When you submit like a one-line change, people spend a lot of time, and then you're like, oh no, here's 1,500 lines of XML.
Like, what are you gonna do?
Ship it. Ship it, right?
Well, I don't know. I still don't quite understand it because I just got Office, or I guess got a new I guess whatever you can call it, AI in Outlook, right? And it's like, okay, and what is it? It's just another little icon in the Outlook bar, and it's just a chat bot. And I'm like, I want you to be in my email with me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, write this email with me, not like me cut and paste. So I don't know. I'm almost just like, am I using it wrong? Did I miss? I've watched all these keynotes. Did I miss the session where they're like, because this is the stuff that I like, to me, I am totally interested in. I mean, and for some reason, they're never there.
Yeah, I've got Gemini in my email now, and I haven't. It's always like, can I write this email for you? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. You don't know what I want, but maybe I should just let it like respond and see.
Well, at least you have the choice, because as far as I can tell, again, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't played around enough with Gemini, because I tried the Gemini, like the free trial, and I was like, I want you in the Google Doc with me, right? And
it's in the email.
But it's not in the Google Doc. Like, I would even say, like, I'm just like, make the changes in the document. They're like, oh, we can't make the changes to the document, but I can help you if you cut and paste and such and such stuff. So anyway, that's just sort of my rant on like, I mean, again, it's back to like his UI for AI. It's like, well, could we actually put it in the UI in the applications? But that doesn't seem. Now, some of the other stuff that I definitely don't want, but they announced they're going to say agents they're going to make agents part of teams. I don't want any more stuff. And the team sidebar is already out of control. I'm so lost inside the teams sidebar. I've got chats. I got channels. I mean, I just, it's endless. I got projects, I got files. I don't even know what's going on the sidebar. So
Well,
I definitely don't want agents in there. It's just going to make it already more crazy for me.
they're in a race with Slack to see who can cram the most stuff in there. And as somebody who spends a lot of time in both every day, Slack's definitely winning that race, but it's not an enjoyable race.
No, it's a race we all want to get off of. Like I just would tell you this, like the sidebar in Teams. If someone's like that deserves like a whole documentary. Like, how did we get here? What is going on? Like, I mean, you scroll through my sidebars and it's just like, I mean, it's hundreds of things that like I'm not even sure what's going on. So I definitely don't want the agents and teams, but they're excited by that. And in fact, they even have like an agent store. You can publish an agent out to GitHub and then you can put it in Teams. And like, again, please, no one use that. I don't want any of that. Like, I don't know about the GitHub. Maybe you're going to make a good one. At least GitHub, you have to go get it. But I don't want my organization, do not put more agents and teams. Like, it's already too crazy. Now, one thing I did like, and this is sort of like, it's becoming almost like the meta conversation, is they do have this, they're calling it the model router that automatically picks the best open AI model for the job, which is like that I do want. And I also want someone to be like, I don't have the money. I'm not subscribed to the highest tier. So I hate when it cuts me off in the middle. It's sort of like my questions are pretty simple. I think the free model is good. So I just wanted to make that choice for me, or at least ask, be like, whoa, Brandon, you're asking some really complicated questions here. We should switch over to the paid model. At least like make me the pitch. And then I can say, no, I'm going to dumb down my questions back to like super simple things.
Would you like to use Google search?
It's like, yeah, but I do like the idea of like, that's the only feature I want. I just want someone to keep me at the free tier and only suggest the paid tier if I've really, done something. But again, I think you can proofread all of my text at the free tier and it seems to be just fine. You can insert M dashes with the best of them at the free tier. I'm okay with that. But I was happy about that. And then they also announced that Grok, that's going to be in their list of models. So it's like, okay, that's fine. Great. Well, and then the final thing,
you clearly wanted to hear more about, white genocide. So
yeah, I was like,
Grok.
I don't know, man. The Grok thing is like, I'm not touching that with that. I'm just like, okay, moving on. Right. And the other thing that they spent a lot is that they're basically very proud of their Foundry. It's the Azure AI Foundry. And so it's basically, all the ways to, if you will, do everything and build AI apps inside the Foundry. So it looked interesting enough. I guess the biggest thing that two things that I wrote down here is like, one, native support for MCP. And it looks like MCP is one. That's become the, if you will, the way that we're all going to interact with AI and sites going forward. So that seems fine. Everyone seems fine with it. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on MCP servers, or like, do you even care? Or do you think this is a standard that should have went out? Like, what do you think?
Well, I think it's one of those, like, it showed up and it got adopted and this is what we're using now. So, the first
we just give it to Anthropic. They're like, they were first out with the spec. So like you win, baby. Right.
Well, they didn't lock it down. They didn't say like, oh, this is only usable if you have up to 800,000 users or something like that. They're like, no, this is how we're going to do it. And everyone's like, all right, beats what we were thinking, or I mean, that's essentially what it is, they moved, and because AWS announced something for Bedrock, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you guys did because everyone else already adopted something. AWS, sure, you're going to have your own thing, but you'll probably start shipping those APIs too.
Yeah. So I guess then this kind of goes back to like, we'll get into Google in a second. I guess this is all about like basically allowing, other services, websites to actually do things and exposing that functionality via, again, just everybody knows, but Model Context Protocol, MCP. So I thought that was a good thing. I mean, it seemed like it made sense. And if nothing else, we're not going to have to spend several years like arguing over standards. And then the final thing that I wrote down that they announced here was the Windows subsystem for Linux was open source. And again, it's like, seems fine. I don't know. Like, are people like, I'm glad it exists. Don't get me wrong. I think that's a great thing. And I just don't know, were people waiting to contribute to this? And there's lots of stuff that people wanted to do, or is it like pretty stable? I guess as someone that doesn't use it much, I don't know, but they were excited, back to being excited.
I am not a Windows user, but I've heard really good things about it. I kind of assumed it was already open source, but just because it's Linux, and it's just the user land that lives on top of the Win32 API, to give you Linux. So sure, open source it. Hopefully, people are excited about that.
Well, good. I was just like, well, good job. Exciting. Very, I actually used to say it wasn't really exciting, but I guess it's happy. I'm happy for them. They seemed happy about making it open source.
Well,
and and to be fair, we're not hardcore Windows users, and we definitely weren't going to contribute anything. For those people that were going to do that, I'm sure they are excited about that. I'm just not one of those people.
Exactly. I'm happy for you.
All right. Well, if that keynote wasn't enough, we then rolled, that was Monday, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that was Tuesday. All the days roll together when you're watching keynotes. Next up were our friends out at Google. Now, they did a bunch of stuff. Some of this related to the Microsoft stuff, but some of it was pretty new. So the first thing I wrote down there was they are now processing something like 480 trillion tokens, which is like a 50 times increase over where they were, I guess, just a few years ago. So it's kind of, I don't know, the number is so big, I don't really think you can comprehend what it means. But I guess to me, it was sort of like, wow, they're using, like, we think like AI's out there and being used a lot, and whether or not people are getting the value of it or not, the searches that are being run are consuming an immense amount of tokens. So I don't know, like, what's your media? And I guess before I let you go, I should also say is like, what I'm thinking is most of this comes from the AI summaries. And they talked a lot about that, like AI summaries have become, very popular, and ultimately they see them as being very valuable to people who are actually, when they're doing Google searches. So that's sort of like, if you will, their backdoor into these huge numbers. It's like, yeah, I guess if you turn on AI summaries for everyone that's doing every conceivable Google search, you are going to generate a ton of tokens and a ton of AI usage. So having said all of that, does this impress you at all? Or what do you think is going on?
It kind of dismays me, because for the exact reason you're talking about, like, I don't know anybody who's like, the Google AI stuff is so reliable. Everyone, it's usually you're sharing stupid things that it came up with, right? That are like, no, that's just wrong. Why are you telling me this? But the majority of the time, people are just blindly taking it. And so, so people are like, oh yeah, I'm excited about it. But then, like, did you notice that this is wrong or that's wrong? And they're like, yeah, but I didn't care, or
I read the summaries. Like, when I do a search, I often read the summaries, and I often find that it does answer my question, or like it gives me some valuable piece of information.
It does, but so did the first search link, right? And so a lot of times, like, I could have just searched for this. I didn't need an AI summary. So they're killing whatever their search, whatever they used to index for search. You're not going there anymore. But I still find the results kind of questionable, and I feel like that's a massive amount of AI search generation that's happening for what feels to me like like mixed results. I was happy with classic search. Because I wanted to go find an expert, and instead they're like, I heard about something. This is what I think it said. And you're like, no, let me go check.
All right. Well, probably that leads us to probably the most notable thing, at least the thing that could have the most far reaching impact. You just said you were happy with classic search. Well, they have basically displaced classic search with AI mode. So it's available to everybody. So you can just click on the little AI mode button. And I would call it, like, I've used it, off and on all day. It's sort of like ChatGPT or a traditional chat bot kind of thing, a Gemini experience, but then it has links prominently on the right side. And so it is sort of like their attempt, so this is, I think, there's without a doubt, I mean, I think we've already known this, but ChatGPT, Google, collision course, right? I mean, they're clearly going to be the
Absolutely.
same. And so it's interesting that, in this case, Google's sort of like changing the search product to be a chat-based thing, mostly with links on the side. Whereas, ChatGPT is the other way. It's mostly a chat-based, but then if you ask it, it will do like a traditional search. So it's almost like it's like kind of what the default is, and they're sort of bleeding over into each other's things. So I guess one, have you had a chance to play with it? And two, like, will you maintain your use of classic search, or will you kind of make this, if you will, your default search behavior?
I think what I'm going to maintain is using DuckDuckGo in my personal browser, right? So I'm a classic. I'm usually looking for, you know, for trusted, sources. And I mean, even before the AI explosion, people were already complaining. I mean, you can go look at our history. People have been complaining about the SEO shenanigans of things getting to the top of your searches that were junk. They were crap. And now what we have is a summary of crap. And and so it's like I actually want I want to have both. I want to say like give me a summary, but maybe that goes into more of the research side of things where I say like go off and find me these things when I ask for it, because usually when I'm searching for stuff I want to go to the first account. I want to go see where this came from, which is why I switched off of Google search previously, because they were getting so overridden by trash, by SEO trash. um I don't know. So I guess I'm always the Luddite heathen here who's like, I miss the old search. Uh,
Well,
I
it's not
miss
there. It's just
good
one tab
search.
away. You just have to click
Yeah,
over. You just click over to all,
I miss high quality search.
or in your case, DuckDuckGo. Well, I will say this: like, I'm actually pretty. I mean, again, it's early, but like, I actually kind of like it because it's kind of like back to your favorite topic, enshittification, right? It's like because I think the Google search is sort of like we don't have to talk about that. Like, yeah, a lot of ads and stuff there. So it's kind of in some ways, it's sort of like I like this idea of like I can see what it thinks I want to know, and then on the right hand side, I can see the search results it wants to show me, and I think that's actually pretty good. And I think this is what I assume ChatGPT will eventually launch. Like, I think what we're seeing here is, if you will, this is the interface of the AI search going forward. And this is probably where the vast amounts of money, because again, like it, love it, hate it. I know, Matt, you hate it, but it feels like advertising is the way of the web here. So it's like, this feels like a good change. It's like, okay, on the left-hand side, you're telling me what I think I need to know. And on the right-hand side, I'll let you put the ads and I'll let you put other links. And I like that it's a link. At least it's out of my immediate line of sight, at least for the moment, until they change that. I don't know. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not as pessimistic as are there.
I mean, I want to like it. I want it to be good, but I can just see the cracks. I see the poor results. I see the the SEO spam pushing themselves into the models, and I don't like it.
Yeah, well, that's fair. All right. Well, that's going to be the biggest change. I think ultimately, I guess the question going forward would be, kind of back to like, will we be talking this about in a year? I think we will. I think,
Oh,
ChatGPT and
absolutely.
Google will
Yeah.
definitely be fighting this out, and that's going to have some sustained change. Now, beyond the search, they also had a little development section in there as well. So we'll go through it. So they've introduced their, if you will, asynchronous coding agent called Jules. So this is back to like, okay, well, if you want, you can give Jules like some task. It will go
Yep.
out and do everything and write it up themselves. So that's sort of their version of what Microsoft does. And frankly, everyone's doing it. So it's sort of like check mark on like autonomous coding agent. So I haven't used it. Everyone will have to check it out. Let us know if it's good or not. And then of course they have the Gemini SDK, and you're not going to believe this, Matt. It's now compatible with the MCP as well. So
See,
shockingly, right? Another win. Too bad they didn't. Can you get royalties on some type of? If only you could get royalties on like a standard. That would
well,
have.
that's
That's a
that's
way to
why it
make money.
succeeded, Brandon. That's why it
It's true.
succeeded. They didn't encumber it. They're just like, this is the new standard. Take it. And people are like, all right, it's not encumbered. It comes with it's a fine standard.
Yeah,
there'll
fair
be an
enough. So,
MCP
well,
2.0
if
in
nothing
2
else,
years.
hopefully the key objectives and results, the people, I can't remember, I heard a good interview with them. The people, the two people that created MCP, they should get a really good high rating this year. It's like created this MCP standard, the whole world has adopted it. Please give me a giant raise. So that seems legit. That seems like a good reason, right?
No, instead, it's just going to be like you put that on your resume, you get written up in, you submit something to ACM and you're like nerd famous, which, doesn't pay your bills.
Yeah, nerd famous, not really, not not so good on the money. So okay, so that was interesting. They also mentioned Cursor, of course, my favorite thing. They said that Gemini is now the fastest growing model on Cursor, which again, like you could probably dissect those numbers a million different ways. Well, yeah, I'm sure it's the fastest growing because the other models have been there for a while and things like that. So, I'm sure.
On.
Again, yeah, we're starting from zero. We have a high rate of growth. I'm sure that's what's going on, but I guess it just kind of shows like Cursor, again, I'm already a huge fan. So we'll see if, I guess Microsoft takes away some of their luster, but like, it is kind of nice. All these agents are in there. So that's pretty good. Now, the other thing that they did in their attempt is they demo these things. Funny enough, they did a little example of finding an apartment in Austin. Right. And so they kind of wanted to show like a semi-autonomous agent where it would basically go out and, if you will, use the MCP, hooks, right, to go in and say, okay, first go find all the listings like at Zillow, right, and then book all the appointments, and then even going as far as to like pick out furniture and all these other things. So it's like, again, it's one of these things where it's like, I don't really think anyone will do that, and so it feels like one of these force-fed demos, but I get where they're trying to do. It's like, I guess every website, kind of to your kind of question going forward, is like websites as they exist today, or web services or SaaS services, are going to go from less about destinations to just being, if you will, like an MCP server. Here's all the things I can do, right? And if you want to like get listings or make reservations or, things along those lines, that's kind of their vision. And I think the whole open web, if you want to consider it that, or keeping the web open, that was like a Microsoft theme. So I don't know. So that's sort of what's going on the MCP front with the Gemini. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the problem as a provider of this MCP service, if you are Zillow, what do you get out of this?
These are good questions. The economics is kind of the open question, right? I assume, like in the case of Zillow, though, right, you would say that like the fact that your listings are there and you make them available via an agent means that your listings would ultimately be shown more, and ultimately that will drive more traffic, and that will be a reason that people should go and make sure their stuff is listed on.
So the cost.
So it's kind of getting away from advertising to your kind of thing, right? It's sort of like that's the idea.
That's definitely my point. Is this escapes the hooks of advertising because you're taking eyeballs away from everything. Nobody's landing on Zillow anymore to go look. How do you know that Zillow is a good provider at this point, right? If people don't go there anymore, is it still popular? Is it still high quality, right? At what point does Google say like, we're tired of paying Zillow this fee, we're just going to launch our own service and not tell anybody and just replace Zillow?
No, I think that's a fair thing. Like the MCP backend, it's like what backends can be switched out and things like that. And also ultimately, I guess that's a good question about like are things still open? I guess if like everyone just subsumes them, it's I mean, question.
You kind of have to be in the game because this is the way it's going, but also you better be thinking, how do I continue to monetize my thing if now I'm like an AI service that makes all my stuff available and nobody ever comes to see me? That's really, that's kind of like the Duolingo, replacing all their people with AI. Is like, why do I need to go to Duolingo if I can get the same thing from Gemini?
Yeah. Well, I think to your point, like maybe a broader way to say it is like advertising-based websites in the world of an MCP, they could be in significant trouble. Now, obviously, if you're an airline, that's going to be fine. Like you don't really care. It's like, I just want the plane full of people. I just want seats, so it's like, fine. If you're like Southwest or United, be like, yeah, And they already do this, right? They already let like lots of people query them for like,
Absolutely.
availability. So, I
Absolutely.
mean, so there's some interesting things there. So,
I, I,
well,
I mean, I think the position you want to be is somehow you just want to have a monopoly. I mean, can't I just have a
can I
monopoly
just
and
have it
lock
all?
these things up? Like the problem with Zillow has is, there's Zillow, there's realestate.com, there's,
Yeah.
a dozen other competitors. And so when you go to list a property, a house or an apartment, you publish to the MLS, there's your monopoly, right? Eventually, all these intermediaries on top of that listing are going to get displaced, and either Google's going to go straight to MLS, or Google, or someone else. Microsoft, Amazon will go to them and cut out all the middlemen and just be like, we want to be the sole provider of this data. And so I
Mhm.
think I think that's where the power is going to lie in the future. Is like, if you can lock up data sources, and if you look at anything that has a lot of intermediaries, if you can get closer to the source, you'll cut them out. And I think there's going to be some other. I think there's going to be a lot of websites going under, just like
Yeah,
newspapers
I
did when
think
you
it's a
took away
fair.
their ads.
It's definitely a fair question. So, all right, we will see on that one. And then the final thing I'll talk about on the Google I/O was probably just the coolest thing that they showed. And again, it's really not for release. It's Google XR. So this is Google's glasses, and they
Mm-hmm.
showed somebody basically wearing kind of the, again, not available, but kind of like, they're not Ray Bans. I guess they're like Warby Parker or something kind of frames.
Definitely not Ray
Along,
Bans. That's
yeah, that's the other ones.
Facebook.
And so what they showed was the coolest thing that they showed is they had two people come out and talk to each other, and they did real-time translation between one person was speaking Hindi, the other person was speaking Farsi, and in real time they were talking to each other and they were translating it into English. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then they did some other stuff, like as the person was walking around, they could say something like, like, what color was the like the cupcake that I saw earlier, and things like that. So it kind of was like, if you will, kind of like watching, seeing what you saw. You could ask
Yeah.
it questions, which we've seen before, like, what is this thing and what is this building? Where are we? The direction stuff is cool too. It would give you directions and it would kind of like see where it was. But the kind of the translation is someone that doesn't speak Spanish, that occasionally has to like try to speak Spanish with people. I just you do it through texting, but I was like, wow, that is really cool. And it generally worked. It wasn't perfect, but I was like, this was something where it's like, clearly these glasses, like, I don't know, this may be one of these things like we're seeing it now and it may be 10 years away, but between Facebook and Google, and I'm sure Apple's working on it as well, it's clearly this is the next frontier, because when you start to see some of the stuff, it was pretty cool. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to see, I know you're, this is probably, not the Matt Ray demographic, but
No,
I
actually,
have to say it was pretty cool.
this I am excited about. I mean, I've been a fan, long time fan of like Google Lenses. Traveling abroad and looking at signs and other languages. Using the live translate. I've been excited about that for 10 years. That's always been pretty great. No, you know, part of me is just thinking like, well, maybe I shouldn't have sold my Nvidia stock.
maybe
But
maybe they're coming back. Yeah.
yeah, but, I mean, there's just massive amounts of processing that's happening for these things. So we'll see how that goes. But maybe this will be like the Apple Watch, where well, when the 9 comes out, I'll finally get one.
You'll be on board. So, well, I think we're far away because again, none of this stuff is really announced, but it's cool to see where it's going. So that kind of wraps up all the different keynotes. There was lots. I mean, there's so much stuff. I encourage you to watch the video recaps, as well as the many write-ups on it for other things. I will say this though, I've already kind of had my discussion on. We can get rid of the world exciting. I think we can also get rid of all demos that involve coffee shops. If you're doing anything with a coffee shop, I don't want to see a demo about it. I don't care about it. And the missing demo that no one has done that I want to see is like, hypothetically, let's say you need to schedule a meeting or a time to meet with a person that you don't have their calendar access. How about a demo that shows setting up and selecting a time to meet and figuring out exactly when it's going to work for everyone, and coming back and proposing that and letting everyone accept that meeting request? Like, to me, that seems like the most obvious thing. That I'm still doing this today. I was doing it today with some people outside of my company. I was like, what's some good, the old email swap. Like, do you have some times when I'm available this time? And it's like, That to me is something that happens 800 million times a day. The fact that they showed someone that wants to buy a dress and they actually put the dress on the person, allow them to see it. And I was like, that's cool. I get it. But I still don't think that's a big deal. I think people can still try on clothes. But what people can't do is schedule meetings, especially when they're not on the same calendaring system. So like, why will no one fix this problem? This is the problem I want fixed.
The evergreen software defined talk request. Can you just fix calendaring?
I mean, but like, it just seems like, why not? With all these MCP servers, why not some of those? And then finally, I just wanted to, the two plans here, Google AI Pro is $20 a month. And that's pretty much on par with everything else. And then Google AI Ultra, that's the new tier. Ooh. It's $250 per month. Now, that's obscenely expensive. So I don't know. That's going to have to be a corporate buy, I would think. But the thing that I thought was interesting is they throw in YouTube Premium with it. That's the kind of the first kind of like bundle outside AI, because it's like, well,
that's weird.
We might as well give you YouTube Premium, which I thought was kind of interesting. So maybe that's where this is all going. It's like somebody in the Software Defined Talk Slack was like, well, maybe they throw in YouTube TV. We're starting to get to 250, you know, and now we're starting to get to like a number, like I'm actually already paying for it. So maybe we're going to start to see more of this, just like, we're going to bundle this. And I think Apple's got to be doing this too. It's like the Apple One, it's like, let's throw in the AI stuff along with the music, along with, you know, Apple TV Plus and things like
Google
that.
Prime, so, Apple Prime. You know, they look at that Prime revenue and they're like, we want that. You know, what do we have to bundle to get that?
That's right. What do we have to do that? So yeah, so a lot of keynotes. It was all interesting. I will say, you know, one of the things that, while there were some things that were fun, and hopefully we talked about some of them, it did in both the Google and the Microsoft one. And maybe you could say this after every keynote. There just is so much stuff that like a lot of it feels like we will forget about it very quickly, right? Like there was all these things I don't have time to go into, like the video editing and making movies and all this other stuff. I mean, it's cool to watch and all, but like it's hard to see this getting traction in the next year or two, which is maybe, you know, maybe it's just aspirational, but it does feel like all of these companies are just like, there's just too much, right? It almost makes me long for ChatGPT, where it's just like, well, they just got this chatbot, and on the left-hand side, you know, like new things pop up, and it's like manageable to consume, right? You know, it's just it's too much. So, so any final thoughts on our keynote wrap up, Matt? Anything else you liked or didn't like?
It's too much.
That's right.
Yeah. No, right. I mean, we'll see.
All right. Well, Matt, give us one line. We don't have a lot of time to talk about this week, but I think we should stop and talk for a moment that Java is now 30 years old, which we were reminiscing. That makes us both feel a little bit older because, you know, we kind of lived through Java, the programming language. I think Java I think when it was first announced, I loved it. I thought it was great. Sort of like if I was ever a professional programmer, that's kind of what I did the most in. I still think it's great. I know people like Python, all this other stuff. I still think it's a fantastic platform. And it's like, if you will, launched 1 million enterprise SaaS products. So I will always have a soft spot for Java. It will always be great in my mind. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm in the same boat. You know, I was very, very early on my Java development days. You know, I remember when it was Oak. So that's how old I am. But yeah, I'm glad that it exists, but I'm not going to manufacture a factory to get me excited about it. You know, I'm done with Java.
You're done with it?
Thank you for being there, Java. I'm not coming back.
Your time has come and gone. Well, hey, listen, you'll always be, if you will, my first or my most fondest memory was it what am I trying to say here? You know, where I just remember, like, thank God I don't have to deal with memory management. Garbage collection. You'll be my fondest garbage collection language. Because again, the kids don't remember. There was like, yeah, it's like, well, everyone was doing C, C++. You had a little of these people doing small talk, but no one really talked to them. They were in the corner. We weren't really sure what they were doing. And it was like, oh, man, all this malloc, free, new, delete. It was just like memory leaks everywhere. And then it was like, you know what we can do? We can just crank up this Java compiler and we don't have to worry about anything.
It was exciting to take like the design patterns book and then see them implemented in a language without having to worry about all the other stuff. But I'm not going back to Java, probably.
You're not going back. You moved on. So, all right. Well, where you should be going, Matt, is you should be coming to the PostCon 25 conference with me, again, and Chris Chandler. We're going to both be there, and
Whoa,
then
whoa,
I think
whoa.
other famous people may be there. Can't remember their names now. Of
If you
course,
can
if
get a
you
selfie with Brandon and Ryan Reynolds, you win the
yeah,
internet.
you could. That could happen. We'll see. So, and remember, Chris is going to be giving his talk is contract-driven development. So you can see him there, and I'll just be around meeting people and seeing people and enjoying the conference. Of course, you can get a free pass if there's still left. So there's limited to the first 20 people. You can use the code Brandon. That's it. That's BRANDON. So there you go. So everyone should check that out. And then looks like Cote. I don't know. He's going to be somewhere off in Europe here in SRE Day. So that's on June 12th, 2025. So you're going to be in Europe. Check him out. The code there is CLG10, and that is 10% off. So, Matt, continuing on our exciting podcast this week, what are you excited to tell the people to recommend this week?
Don't buy a house. My anti-recommendation is, man, I'm tired of having a house that I don't live in and renting it out. It's like every time you think you're about to like start to break even, I got to go get 2 air conditioning units.
2?
Yeah, so,
wow.
2. Well, they're like these things are 29 years old.
Is it buy one get one free kind of thing, or like
no?
what's going
but there's
on?
a discount on 2.
Wow. Well, I can attest. Here in Texas, air conditioning is mandatory. Like other people in parts of the world, like I would just live without air conditioning. That's not possible here in Austin, Texas. Like you'd probably rather go without heat than air conditioning. I don't know. I guess that's debatable. So
you guys have the freezes for it too, right?
I wish you luck. Maybe there's an MCP server out there that will dynamically price and install air. Now that's really what talk about autonomous agent. You want someone to price and come in, carry that air conditioner up into the attic and install it for you. That's an arduous task.
That's I have an untrustworthy API between me and my house right now, so we'll just leave it at that.
That's right. A lot of latency, as they would say. So, okay. Well, Matt, I kind of teased this last week. I believe Murderbot has been recommended. The books and probably the audiobooks have been recommended on the show multiple times, numerous times. So I feel like it's only appropriate that we recommend Murderbot, the new Apple TV series. So if you like the books, if you like the audiobooks, you're probably going to like the show. I just thought the show, I'm recommending it because I feel like, well, we all have to watch it. I thought it was good. It's fun, but it's like, Murderbot is more of like I guess what we say, like sarcastic, funny comedy. It's sort of like doesn't take itself too seriously, but it also has some interesting themes. So the episodes are real short. They're like 30 minutes. And they're kind of fun to watch. So if you like Murderbot and you listen to this podcast, you'll probably enjoy watching that on Apple TV. But you have not had a chance yet to watch.
No. I always get excited when something new is coming out, and then I don't get around to watching it.
There you go. That's fantastic. Well, we should allow someone to go through, and maybe we'll get the transcript, and we should count how many times we said excited in this podcast, because
I'm excited to hear about it.
I hope we set a record for our excitement, and we hope you had a fun time and you were excited to hear this entire episode. If you'd like to see what we talked about and many things that we didn't get to, you should go to the show notes. That's going to be softwaredefinedtalk.com/520. This is episode 520. I did not this week. I don't think I sent out any stickers this week. So what everyone needs to do is they need to email me their postal address at stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. I will be happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world. Of course, summer's coming. It's great to put it on your bikes, all your beach attire, and make sure you know it's yours. You don't need to write your initials. Just throw a Software Defined Talk sticker on it. One day when there are so many Software Defined Talk stickers on the beach, we'll make new stickers, and we'll make them even better. But until that day, we've got plenty of them. So email me. Happy to send you a sticker. And with that, I hope you all have an exciting rest of your week. And we will be recording hopefully this time around next week. And we always appreciate all the people on the stream. So we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right, Matt, we did it. What did I miss in the chat? I see, is it Henning? As he feels all the excitement as well. So that's good. How many times can we get excitement into this as well? Well, Matt, you said you're a glasses wearer. Will there ever come a time you'll actually switch out your glasses for smart glasses? You think you'll do
absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm actually here for that. Like, I don't know if I need all the AI stuff. well, I'm creeped out by the way they're doing the AI stuff, but I things like live translation and you know not having to look at my phone, that all sounds good.
All right, well, it's good. Well, I was trying to say, are you glasses only by choice, or like do you have contacts at all, or you just is
No,
that just
I
your
wear glasses. I mean, my
as
vision
in you
is
can have
not
contacts, or
terrible.
you prefer not to have them?
I wore contacts when I was younger, and I just didn't really like them that much.
Okay, there you go, Matt. Matt always the analog, always keeping it old school. I like it. Good job, Matt. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, thanks for everyone that hung in for the episode. Hopefully, it was fun. We will be streaming probably next week, maybe a little earlier. I think we'll have Cote back, but you never know. Keep an eye on the Slack. Keep an eye on the notifications. And it was good to see everyone. So, you all take